Hey, sports porchers! It's your hockey Jesus, and I'm back with some analysis of the last few games for the Pens. And I'm going to give a little sneak preview as to what I think is going to be going on in the playoffs this year. As you know, the Pittsburgh Penguins will not be in the playoffs this year, but I think it's worth analyzing a little bit what has been going on lately with these two recent trends where we've seen a winning streak and a losing streak. And I'm going to give you a little bit of analysis on that. But first, let's talk about the win and the loss. The win against New Jersey, that was really impressive. I mean, to score 7 goals against New Jersey, who it's definitely a playoff team. They're kind of teetering right now between being that third place team in a wild card team, but I think they'll probably end up in the third place. And that loss against the New York Islanders, that was a classic Pittsburgh Penguins loss for this season, and you could even go back a few seasons where they take a 2-goal lead going into the third and they just blow it. I know it's hard not to cheer. I was actually watching game with the counselor, and when the Islanders scored that third goal, I kind of raised my hand to high five him, and he just would not high five me. He was like, "I can't do it. I can't cheer for the Penguins to lose." And I get it. I mean, you don't want to cheer for your home team to lose. Nobody does, but the reality is the Pittsburgh Penguins do need to lose games. They do want a high lottery pick. And right now, the Philadelphia Flyers are doing a pretty good job of jumping past them into more lottery balls. But that set aside, I get it. It's hard. It's hard to root against your team when you root for them all season long. But we all know that the Pittsburgh Penguins are not making the playoffs. So that was disappointing, but not disappointing, even when you lose. So let's talk about why they've been winning a little bit. Most of it has to do with Tristan Jarry. He's been playing great. He finally reverted back to his old form, and it took him a while. He actually was still playing very well in that New York Islanders game until the third period. And that third goal, I thought, was the backbreaker. That was not a good goal to give up. And I know there were some defensive, flaws that helped him not be a good goalie. That always happens with every NHL team, but Jarry actually has been playing well. And here's why I say so what. I say so what to that because it doesn't mean anything. I mean, the guy has been sent down to the minors twice. I know first was on assignment, but really he's been sent down to the minors twice. Nobody's picked him up. Nobody wants him. And now they're only bringing him back because they want Bloomquist to, do some things down in the AHL now that the baby Pens are definitely going to be doing something for their playoff run in the AHL. So they said, Bloomquist, you head down to the winning team. We'll bring Jarry up. And honestly, it's a good idea to get a good look at Jarry, but I just don't know how much you can really learn from him, knowing that they're not playing for anything. And I feel the same way about Carlson, who's actually having a pretty good run of things as of late, and definitely on this winning streak. Well, the winning streak's over now, but definitely on this run. So who has been playing good? Well, of course, Sidney Crosby's been playing great. He had 16 points during this win streak. And that was actually tied for sixth in the NHL. So only 5 guys scored more points than him during that same time frame, which he scored 7 goals. And that's vintage Sid. I mean, Sid scoring 16 points in 6 games. Just incredible. Just a great run. That means that means Raquel's also been doing well. He's got 11 points, and Carlson also has 11 points. And believe it or not, our buddy, and I've been critical of him as of late, Gino got 10 points during that same run. So I think that really kind of highlights the point when you got the first 2 lines going that everything can go well for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and that's what's been happening. A guy who's not been playing well has been Brian Rust. He's been a little invisible. He got 7 points during that stint. He's had 20. He only had 2 goals, but his shot percentage is way down, 7.7%. So he's shooting the puck a lot, but he's not getting a lot of goals. That's bad usually, but I think because Sid's playing so great, I don't think it's. I think it's kind of getting lost in the wash, but. Boy, Brian Rust has not had a great season this year. Let's face it. And I don't know if that means that was because Carlson has had a great season, getting 40 goals. I don't know. I don't really know what to say about that. I don't think that means, he's on his way down. I think maybe it was one of those years. He did have some injuries. Remember, he started off the season on the injured list, didn't play the first couple games. A couple of new guys who've been playing really good are the Connors, Connor Dewar and Connor Timmons. One's a right winger, the other one's a defenseman. In the 5 games that they've played, they've had a total combined 4 goals and 7 points, and also in a very great way, a +10. And being a plus on the Pittsburgh Penguins this year is an amazing feat, being that they have almost the most goals scored against and almost the worst point differential in the NHL. And compare that with Achari and Graves, who have 1 goal and 3 points, and they were still a +5, which is pretty good for those guys too. But 3 points versus 7 points, 4 goals versus 1 goal. This is why I get so hopped up on Achari playing, and I wish he wasn't out there, because I get it. The guy's a warrior. I've heard it. He battles. He blocks shots. He actually is one of the few guys in the league. I think he's number 1 or number 2 in block shots, and that's really an impressive thing. And that's why I thought somebody would take him for the playoff runs, because as you start watching these games, and the games now really are playoff games, teams are playing now. They need to win, and they're playing against other teams that need to win. To me, that's a playoff game, and you're starting to see it. When the Senators are playing against the Islanders, and Montreal's playing against the Devils, and those sorts of games, you'll start to see you'll start to get the level of activity start to amp up, and that's why in these games it's so hard to get a shot through, because guys are just diving at the puck. They're not letting anything get through, especially towards the end of the game, when it doesn't matter what's happening, all bodies on the ice. And once you get into a 6th and 7th game, it's mass hysteria. It's hard to get it through. But nobody wanted Achari, so we have him for next year. We did send Nieto down, which I'm very happy about, and nobody took him off waivers, but he's not signed for next year, so he absolutely will not be back. Let's do a little analysis. I got my trusty spreadsheets up. Let's bring them up here, and so this is just the Penguins. This is what they've done. They're 4-2 since the trade deadline, which is pretty impressive. 4-2 since the trade deadline. Like I said, those wins in the middle there at Minnesota, the Knights, in St. Louis, and St. Louis has been on fire lately. They've found their way into a playoff spot, and against New Jersey, 3-4 teams there who are making the playoffs that they beat. And I think I cautioned you to say it might be easier to beat those teams than teams like the New York Islanders, who are trying to play to get in. And sure enough, that's what happened in this case. They did lose to Vegas before that. Here's what I really want to get into. I did a little bit of analysis of what has happened during the win streak, and what had happened. What do the stats look like during the losing streak? So as you can see here, the Pittsburgh Penguins. So this is during the losing streak. This is right out of the gate. These are the 13 games we played since the Four Nations tournament. In the 7 games right after, we went 1-6, only had 3 points. And here's the thing: this goals against at 5.14. You're never going to win a game when you're giving up 5 goals a game. That is just a ridiculous statistics. So the goals for the goals for were 2.86, and at 2.86, it's just let me pull this up. At 2.86, the Penn season average is 2.9, and that's 19th in the NHL. So during the win streak, they were goals for of 3.33, and that actually would have placed them 5th in the NHL in the amount of goals scored. So the goals for and the goals against aren't that different, but just even a half a goal makes that much of a difference anywhere between the middle of the pack and the top of the pack. This is the trend line. So during this during this time frame, the Penguins were playing as if they would trend for 35 points for the year. That's actually much worse than San Jose. Nobody plays that bad for all season, but during that season, you could see that trend's horrible. And here, during this win streak, 4-2, that trend would have put them at 109 points. That still would only have placed them second in the East behind Washington, the Capitals. So even though they were playing maybe some of their best hockey, still not the best hockey that Washington has been playing all season round. That's a testament to how well Washington's playing. Why I think they're better than a lot of people think they are. I would love to see them match up against either the Senators or the Rangers in the first round. I think that would be a great first round. I would really be looking forward to that. But this goals against average, 2.83 during this time frame, that's still not great. I mean, it's still like, 11th in the NHL. That's not even top 10. There are some teams that have been playing much better than that all year round. And that's why I said they got to figure out the goalie position, because at 3.33, they can go 4-2 and they can get to 109. That means something else is working. And it looks like it's working is the power play. The power play was firing at 25%. That definitely is that's in the top 5 for sure. And definitely not one. I think Winnipeg is near 30 points, believe it or not. But that's, I think, what pushed them over and overcame some of that goals against average being a little high. And I say high, meaning, kind of not in the top 10. So I think they can get better there. It is interesting to note that the penalty kill didn't really make a difference during this time frame. And that the penalty kill, if you look at Detroit, they have the worst penalty kill in the league, and they're still almost at 70%. So they were way below even the worst team in the league in the penalty kill, and it didn't make any difference. And I think that's interesting. I think that means that, maybe this team needs to play a little bit more on edge. I think it gives them a better way to get more shots, and not more shots, because you can see here in the losing streak, they shot more than they did in the winning streak by 10 more shots. And I think what happens is with some teams, and I think this is absolutely true with the Pittsburgh Penguins, when they get 10 shots, when they get that many shots on goal and they're not scoring, they get frustrated. And it's just, the shots against the Penguins have been pretty much right around 30. And that, to me, okay, if you're a 900 save guy, then, you're giving up 3 goals. And that's too much. So you got to be a little bit better than that. And Jari was. So he was only giving up 2. 1 game. You won 1 game, and you end up giving 4 in the games they would lose. And so I think that's interesting to note. And you look at this and you say, well, the Penguins, they can play really well. So what's going on? Well, look at the other games in the season. Earlier in the season, in October, basically half the month of October, they did the same thing. They went 1-6 in 7 games played. And then again at the beginning of the year, the end of the year, in the beginning of the year, for half a month, they went 8 games where they went 1-7. Now, I didn't put the statistics up for that. I didn't think it was that relevant for all the games, but I think that's a good analysis of how the Pittsburgh Penguins. Let me get rid of this off of the screen for a second. I think that's a good analysis of how the Pittsburgh Penguins, can do better, and what they have to do better once they can get back to the team that they want to be. Let's talk a little bit about Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby basically moves up the NHL playoff. Scoring record. He just passed. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry about this. He just passed Wayne Gretzky in the amount of points scored for one franchise. And this is the interesting thing with Sid. Sid's played in 1,340 games. Patrick Marleau has played in almost 1,800 games. He's played the most amount of games by anybody. And he's played 1,779. So that's about 440 games. If Sid wanted to break Marleau's record for playing the most amount of games in the NHL, that means that's 5 more seasons. If he gets 5 more seasons, it's very conceivable that Sidney Crosby could get over 2,000 points. And that would put him second all-time in scoring. And I think that would solidify Sidney Crosby as one of the greatest players of all time. I personally think he is already one of the greatest players of all time. But, if he gets to that level, he absolutely would be considered that way. And I think that's just a testament to Sid. Just a great player. Just love him. Pens play tonight, and I will be watching it. Tonight's the charity game. If you guys don't know what that is, the charity game is when the Pittsburgh Penguins have these great charity bags where they give away. It's all for the Lemieux Foundation. Mario Lemieux, just one of the greatest guys of all time. He has this charity game. They try and raise like $2 million, $4 million for this foundation. And the foundation's really, it's a cancer research foundation, because everybody knows that Mario Lemieux fought off Hodgkin's lymphoma. So, and he missed a lot of hockey because of that. And one of the greatest games of all time was when he came back from that after his treatments. So, charity game tonight versus Columbus. Columbus has got to win. I didn't do the playoff analysis for the other teams. I'm going to save that for the weekend. But it's real interesting to see who's in it. Basically, it's Columbus. It's the Rangers. Montreal sneaking in there. Detroit, they fell back, but they're still in it. There are probably 4 or 5 teams that are in it. I'll get to that later this weekend. I tell you what, enjoy the hockey tonight. Enjoy the playoff hockey that is going on out there, because it's fantastic. And I will catch you in the next one.